Welcome! Let's meet a new control from TMS that lets you integrate the web into your applications even easier. TTMS FNC Edge Browser is a new component that supports the WebView 2 library so that you can integrate Microsoft Edge specific features into your VCL and FireMonkey applications. The introduction I already mentioned, WebView 2. That is a library that is installed on your Windows system by default. That means Microsoft is also updating it on a regular basis, so your users will always be able to get the experience on any Windows system. As the moniker FNC is in the component name, you might already have guessed it. It is a cross-framework control. You can use the very same control in the VCL for your Windows 32, Windows 64-bit applications, as well in FireMonkey for your Windows applications. Microsoft Edge is built on top of the Chromium engine. We've all heard it, but what does it really mean? Well, Chromium is an open source software project initially, and it is based on WebKit from Apple. And it is also known for its speed and efficiency compared to other web browser engines. That's because it takes advantage of modern hardware and thus is able to render complex web pages and web applications quickly. It also supports the latest web standards, not only because of the fact that the project is still alive and Microsoft updates your libraries regularly. So it makes only sense that very popular web browsers use this very engine. Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Opera, and others use it. The key features of this component are red, of course, it's Delphi. You drop the component onto the form, you set its URL property, and you run the application, and boom, you're ready to go. You have a web browser integrated into your application. That's actually what I'm going to show you in this very video. However, other features are also printing and exporting web content to Adobe PDF as files or streams, so you can access web content easily. You'll also have access to cookies inside of the web browser session as part of cookie management, which you can access using methods and events. You'll also be able to issue post requests. Usually when you enter a URL in your web browser, it is a GET request. Post requests are needed, for example, if you want to send data to a web service. And you've encountered it many times on the web when you fill out a form, a contact form, or a login form even, and then the data is being sent to the web service when you click the login or submit button. Finally, we also have access to the context menu of the web browser control, which usually is coming from the library that the web browser control uses. With this new component, you'll be able to customize the context menu. You'll be able to add your own menu items and add source code that will be executed if users select those menu items. Let's put the new control to the test. Is it really that easy to integrate a web browser into your application? We select File, New, VCL Application, and we find the control as an FNC control on the tool palette. So we go to the Form Designer and simply type Edge. And then as part of the TMS FNC UI category, we find the TTMS FNC Edge browser. We select the component and Delphi is still updating the icon cache. There is the icon. That is normal, by the way. That has nothing to do that your installation of the control is buggy. That is a new feature of Delphi 11, that the icons are being cached in the background and reloaded in the background, so it sometimes takes a little bit for them to appear. So we click, drop the control, and go to its properties. So the whole control uses properties that you know from Delphi, and more importantly, events that allow you to react to Edge specific things. For example, getting cookies, printing to PDF, but these will be explained in later videos. Let's stay focused on the 1, 2, 3 demo. So we insert the URL. This is just the TMS homepage, and even at design time, I immediately get visual feedback from the control. I align it to AL client, and I run the application. That's how easy it is to integrate web content that works, that you can navigate into your applications. However, let's do one more thing that shows how easy it is to work with this control. In addition to just having the web browser window, I would like to add an edit control where the user can actually add a URL and click a button to navigate there. So instead of keeping this AL client, I'm going to redefine it to AL button, or better even, AL none, and I'm going to use anchors. Left, top, right, bottom, perfect. And then I'm going to add a simple edit control, T edit. I'm also going to change the font to a bigger setting because the default 9, I consider that a little bit too small. And now like this. And again, anchors, left, top, right, so it resizes with the form, and a very simple button, T button, that will allow us to issue the request. And that will be tied to the right, not to the left. And I'll choose the caption go and name the button go. So this will allow us to navigate to any web address that we enter in there. As default, I just inserted the URL from the clipboard, and I was a little bit quick here. It was the text property, of course. Now let's resize this a little bit, like so. And the only thing remaining right now is the default, of course, is set to this URL right here. So let's remove this because it should always be the URL right here. And as soon as the browser is initialized, we have an event for that. Let's look for it. Init. On initialize, we want to use the URL that's in this text field right here. So what we can do is we go to initialized, on initialized, and what should happen? Set URL. That's what we want to do. And set URL, procedure, set URL, will transfer the URL from the edit control, which we haven't named yet. So we name this name text URL, and the browser we name browser. And then we can say in source code browser dot navigate, and then we can pass in a URL, and the URL is txt URL dot text. That's it. So at this point, the browser initializes and the URL is being set appropriately. That is one important aspect to remember. Do not assign any property values to the component before it has been initialized. Use the initialized event to initialize the browser control with the values that you want to use. Further, or finally, we have to implement the go button, and same thing, set URL is what happens. You can also clear the URL if you wanted to, but in this case, let's keep it like this. So here we go. That's the initialization to the TMS software site that works. And now I'm going to Flix Engineering my web page to the books page, and I'm going to click on go, and the web page is loaded. That allows me to order my books. Okay, so this is just one thing, because what happens now, if you click here, the resources tab or the blog tab opens, the URL text doesn't update. And we can do that pretty easily as a final thing to really build a great web browser. So we click navigate, on navigate complete, and we can update the URL. And in the params dot, we have the URL right here. And we also have success or error code. Okay, so in this case, I only want to update it, of course, if there is success. So if param success, then begin txt URL dot text equals params dot URL. And otherwise, I could show an error message if I wanted to. I could say end else begin message dialog error browsing to URL comma empty error comma mbok, no help context, and that's that. There we go. And if we click blog now, after the navigation completes, the URL is being updated. So this really works now like a real web browser, and it was really 1, 2, 3. I dropped the control on the form, implemented the initialize event, and then in order to update the URL field, I also implemented the event called onNavigateComplete. And finally, to test the error case, if I enter a URL that does not exist, for example here, tmssoftware.com/gibberish, and I click go, I get the 404 page because it is still a valid URL that we can navigate to. But if we enter something here that doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't resolve, error browsing to URL because the server does not exist, and we get the error page from the Web View 2 library. Even though you can build this demo or example in 5 to 10 minutes, I've made it even easier for you. You can go to my GitHub repository on github.com/holgerflick/examples. And if you think like there's nothing there, well, you have to select the correct branch. The branch is 12, simply type 12 into the switch branches and select 12 FNC Edge browser. And there is the source code of this example. So that way you get access to the source code easily. With this, I close the introduction of this new great browser control to use Microsoft Edge specific features. In the following days, you'll see more examples how to use the other features like printing and exporting web content to Adobe PDF. I'll introduce you to cookie management. We'll issue a post request to a web service using the new browser control. And finally, we're going to customize the context menu. Thank you for your interest. Please subscribe to this feed and thumb up this video if you liked it. Comment if you have questions, and take care. See you soon.